How are you? It's Friday. Welcome. It's Katie. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome to my channel. I'm so excited to have you here. It is Friday afternoon. It is TGIF. I can't believe it's already Friday. I can't believe the school year is about to get started. And I can't believe I'm about to have a first grader. Oh, as some of the states prepare to send their children back to school, mine included, although we are doing distance education until things get calmed down in the United States and in my state. Some parents are preparing to send their kids to school, and that means getting back to school supplies. Now, for most people, going back to school is a stressful yet exciting time, and sometimes it means it's a first for the kid, and sometimes it means it's a first for the parent. And today's story is about how one person who is from a family of homeschoolers has smashed the tradition and is now sending her son to kindergarten at a public school. And you guys thought pants were scandalous? This takes things up to a notch I don't even know. So Jill Dillard did a video on her YouTube channel, which I was surprised only has 40,000 subscribers. She doesn't post very frequently, but she should have a larger YouTube following given her platform of over 1 million people on Instagram that follow her. But she updated a video where she went school shopping with Samuel and Israel, who will be attending kindergarten at a public school in Arkansas. This is shock. I mean, it was shocking when she made the decision and she publicly came out and decided that she was going to be sending him. But it's just to see it all happen. We weren't sure. When they got him signed up for kindergarten, we hit the pandemic and there was a lot of questions on whether or not schools were going to be open. Schools in some states have reopened and some are reclosing because it's continued to up the cases in the state. Each state is doing sort of state by state based on whatever their governors provide. And it sounds like in Arkansas, Israel will be going back into a classroom. Jill is probably one of the few Duggars that is taking this entire pandemic responsibly. She is often seen wearing masks. When her kids do go out in public, they're always with masks. And she's always talking about social distancing. So Jill seems to get it. So what I thought was actually funny was that they were having Israel sort of help with all of the supplies. And it was cute because he's in kindergarten and most kindergartners don't know how to read. And a lot of the words that were on the list are hard for a kindergartner to read. I mean, most know like 3 or 4 letter words, right? So he was doing his best and Derek had to help him a few times. But one of the funny stories, and I thought like, interesting was because she talked about washable markers. So take a look.
You can wash markers. Okay, so we got the washable markers. Funny story. Washable marker does not mean that you wash them. When Jessa was little, she took all her brand new washable markers to the sink and washed them. Yeah, washed them in the sink. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
So do not put those in the sink, okay? That just means they wash off your skin easier if it gets on you, but don't color on your skin either. So, note to self or to kids, washable does not mean you wash them.
So she talks about how Jessa, when she was a kid, didn't realize that washable markers meant that it would wash off of your skin, but rather she thought it was about how you washed the markers. So in a literal brain of the Duggars, of course, a washable marker means you're going to wash it. And I'm guessing with a lack of exposure to the outside world and not a ton of experience, that would make sense. I mean, I could see even some kids just thinking that regardless. I thought the story was funny though, because I was trying to imagine Jessa, who has a very literal sense of the world. I mean, if you watch Jessa, she's very like detail oriented and a rules follower. Very much has just been indoctrinated into this very literal, legalistic world. I can see how the literalness of that could cause such a silly thing to happen, which again could happen. Now, later on in the video, as they were actually packing the backpack for Israel to go to school, he responded to his dad and told him the story about the markers as they were trying to pack the markers. It was pretty cute. Take a look.
Notebooks,
Cool.
washable markers.
Wait, Sam. Wait, Sam.
Actually, you don't wash
Sam.
them. That just means you
You
just
can wash it if it gets on something.
it doesn't.
No, let Chuchi do it,
It
Sam.
washes better.
You can give him one thing, Sam.
Okay. Yeah, give me one thing.
Because you don't wash it because
Thank you.
it just washes off something better.
Yeah, you don't wash them in the sink like Aunt Jessa
Remember
did.
that?
That's not what washable means.
Tissues
Tissues.
and
So I'm impressed because they've stuck to this. Like, a lot of people were wondering whether or not the Duggars or the Dillards were actually going to stick to this, whether or not this was actually going to happen given the pandemic. And it seems like now, getting towards the school year, they're getting ready to go. And I'm pretty impressed because Derek is in he's going to be in his third year of law school. So he'll be completed at the end of this year, or at the end of the school year. And then he will study to take the bar in the state of Arkansas. But Israel, her experience in school has been extremely different. Like, I was watching a very old episode of 14 Kids. It was like the actual documentary, and it was like the 14 Kids in County documentary. And it was kind of shocking to me because during school, Michelle sat down with the kids, and they're all sitting around the table. Mind you, the kids that are school age that were in this video, I think Josiah was 8 or 9. You had Jessa, who was 11. You had Jill, who was 13. You had Jana, who was 14. You had Josh, who was, I think, 16 at this point. You had John David, who was 14. Then you had, I think, Joseph, who was 7. And you had this wide age, and I think Ginger was like 10. And you had this wide age of kids, right? With the youngest being in the school around 6 or 7. And she sits with the kids and she's like, all right, today we're going to talk about bankruptcy law. And then she explains to them it's not about going to the bank, but it's about being bad with money. And how if you're not responsible with money, you can end up in bankruptcy, which I was like, you're teaching this to 7-year-olds. This is weird. But that's kind of how the ATI curriculum is, and it's bizarre. And then for their field trips, she took them, and they were building their house. A lot of this learning with the Duggars seemed rather self-serving because the Duggars were very frugal. They struggled to make ends meet for years, and prior to their break on TLC, they were broke, and they were constantly looked at as grifters within the community, really doing anything that they could to get things for free. In fact, building their house as though it were going to be a church in order to avoid certain taxes, and building their house without the help of anyone else, and having TLC foot a lot of the bill, taking things and getting a lot of the inside interior for free. So while they were actually showing this episode, they were taking the kids on field trips to learn about soybean insulation foam for construction. I mean, for a 7 or 8-year-old, what does learning about soybean insulation foam, what's that going to do in the long, most kids that age are going to go to the zoo and learn about animals or, natural history. I mean, soybeans, I don't know. Anyways, and it's going to be a very different experience, let's just say, for Israel. So Jill was spending her time learning about bankruptcy law and soybeans as construction materials, and then also spending her time at the same time helping her family build a house. And then Israel is going to be doing the basics, the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s, colors, some art, some gym or Fayed. There'll be some science. Yeah, he's going to learn science, you guys. He's going to learn about evolution. He's going to learn about biology. I mean, think about that. Jill didn't even learn, about evolution because her parents don't believe in it. They believe that the earth is 2,000 years old or 5,000 years old. You know what I mean? This is going to be so wild for her and for him. And I'm guessing that Jill's going to learn a lot in the process. And I'm just kind of excited to see how this all plays out for her. So this is a big day, and I'm super excited for Israel, and I'm super excited for Jill and Derek. But tell me what your thoughts are. Did you think this was actually going to happen, or are you like, no, I'm totally on board with this. This is great. What do you think about Michelle's old homeschooling curriculum? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below.